Alrighty, we have reached week 11 of the NFL season, and I thought last week we had a really good week once again. Let's keep the momentum going, and I think this week there's some tougher games. There's quite a few where I took the underdog, but I like the picks this week. I think that we're going to have another great week. I really do, and it's going to start off on a really, really tough Thursday night football game with the Commanders and the Eagles. And this is a game that, like I said, it's going to be tough to tell which team has it because you have Washington who's coming off that loss to Pittsburgh in a game that was really close. And you have Philadelphia who's looked really good. And I've said time and time again that I think their roster is one of the top 5 rosters in the NFL. The only question I have with them is coaching. And I have the Commanders in this game 28-25. And the main reason because of that is I think that they're going to outcoach the Eagles. I think that the Commanders are going to outcoach the Eagles. I think Jaden Daniels has a really good game. Keep an eye for schemes. Keep an eye for that team to just outcoach the Eagles. And that's why I think they're going to find a way to win in that game, 28-25. Going on to the Sunday slate, you have a game of 2 bottom feeder teams, the Cleveland Browns and the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, the Saints are coming off that win against the Falcons, and I was shocked that they beat the Falcons, but they really rallied together. Valdes-Scantling had a really good game, and that's why I'm going to take the Saints. I'm going to take them 17-14. I think they have enough juice here to beat the Browns. That first game that Jameis Winston played against all those weeks ago, I think was a fluke. I think the one that you saw, the Jameis Winston that you saw against the Chargers, is the one that you're going to see going forward. And obviously Nick Chubb, just not the same player as of right now. And it makes sense why, because he's coming off of a major injury, and it's just tough to come back from that. And that's why I'm taking the Saints 17-14 in this game. Next up, going to the Bears and the Packers. The Bears, in my opinion, last week lost what was a must-win game. I thought it was a must-win game that they lost against the Patriots. And if they can't beat the Patriots, there's no way they can beat the Packers. I think that they actually have a jolt in this game early. They may even lead it at half. But I'm going to take the Packers 30-24. I think the Bears show up in the beginning because there's been all this scrutiny, all this talk about Eberflus getting fired. I think, and the OC got fired, I believe today. And I think they show up with some juice, and then they bears it away. I think that they have the lead at half, maybe at the end of the third quarter. And I think Green Bay finds a way to win, the much better team, and that's why I have them 30-24. Next up, we go to Jacksonville versus Detroit. Detroit had a really, really impressive victory against the Texans in a game where they were just trailing the whole game. They had to make the massive comeback. Goff throws 5 picks. He's probably not going to do that again. And they find a way to win. On the other hand, Jacksonville, just not. If Mac Jones is playing in this game, they have absolutely no shot. I think even if Lawrence plays, it's going to be a stretch for them to come out and get this win. So I got Detroit 34-13. I think they get a big win after that close game. And I still think this is the best team in football. And that's why I got Detroit 34-13 in this one. Next up, you go to the Vikings versus the Tennessee Titans. And the Vikings had one of the ugliest wins I've seen in a long time last week against the Jags, but they found a way to get the win. Can't knock a win. A win is a win in the NFL. And I think they come and I think they play a little bit better. Aaron Jones, keep an eye out for him. I'm not sure if he's going to be playing in the game. But Tennessee's a tough team for me to ever pick because I just don't like the quarterback play. I don't like that they've gotten rid of a lot of their weapons. I thought Will Levis had a really good throw to Calvin Ridley on that touchdown play last week. But that's about all that I've seen successful from them. And I have to take the Vikings here. 20-10 is going to be my prediction. I just think that they find another ugly win and they get this one 20-10. Next up, we go to the Vegas Raiders versus the Miami Dolphins. And Miami is looking pretty good. Miami is looking like they're having kind of a comeback spurt. They had a really good game against the Rams. And if you look at their schedule, this could be that team in the middle of the year that gets hot. And they got Tua back. However good we think Tua is at this point, look at what he does when he plays. They're a much better team, and he's been the difference. I have Miami 24-13. I think they get the job done. I think that they might go on a bit of a streak here. That's what I think that they have shown with Tua that they can win these games. And last year, they were a 10-11 win team. They might go on a bit of a streak here. I got them 24-13 in this one. Next up, you go to the Rams and the Patriots. And I think this is an all-out dog fight. You have on the Patriots, you have Drake May, who's looking pretty good. He's looking like somebody who can play in this league for a while. And then you have the Rams, who kind of struggled in that game against Miami, like weren't able to get past their defense very well at all. And I think that was a big issue for them. So I think it's going to be a really close game, nail biter. I have the Rams by one single point, 21-20. I think they barely get it by. Maybe it's a walk-off field goal. Maybe it's a goal line stand. Something is going to happen where it's really close, in my opinion. That's what I think is going to happen. The Patriots are playing a lot better. They're playing more inspired football. The Rams, I still think, are a good, solid team. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good one to watch. Next up, you go to the Colts and the Jets. And a lot of people have the Jets in this game. I'm going to go against that. I'm going to take the Colts here, 30-26. I think that they got it. I think that the Colts will be able to figure it out with whoever they play. Flacco had a really bad week. He threw some bad picks, but they were still in that game with Buffalo somewhat. They still somewhat were competitive. I just think the Jets are terrible at this point. They don't have the juice anymore. They don't have the fire that I saw in the early stages with them. And that's why I think that's why I think that they can't find a way to win more of these games. The defense has been crumbling recently. It just hasn't looked as good as it's been. And that's why I got to go with that's why I got to go with the Colts here, 30-26. Next up, you go to what could be the showdown of the week, in my opinion, the Ravens and the Steelers. Two teams that are just really, really playing this for the top of the division. Steelers coming off that big win. Ravens coming up off that big win against the Bengals. And it's going to be a huge showdown. I think that it's going to be a somewhat mid-level scoring game. And it's going to come down to how good Lamar Jackson plays. Because if he can play at a high level, we know the Steelers defense is going to be good. But we also, on the other hand, know the Ravens defense has their liabilities. So it's going to come down to the quarterback play. Who's going to outduel each other? And I think Lamar gets it done, and I think it's a really close one. I think it's 27-24. I think it's a battle all the way. But I think that Baltimore finds a way to get this one in what is a close Baltimore Ravens 27-24 win. Next up, you go to the Broncos and the Falcons. Falcons really let me down last week. They let me down because they just played a really rough game against the Saints team that they are a lot better than. They bit themselves in the foot several times, again and again and again. Picks in the red zone, picks on big drives, just weren't able to capitalize. And obviously you have Denver on the other end that almost took off the undefeated Chiefs. If the field goal doesn't get blocked, they win that game. They were in good range. I think it was like a 30-yard field goal. And that's why I got to take Denver. I take Denver 25-20. I think they got it. I think they'll get it. Sean Payton's looked really good. Bo Nix has looked really good in his games as well. And you're just figuring it out if you're Denver. You're finding ways to get in position where you can win these big games. Next up, you go to Seattle and San Francisco. And I think the 49ers just have had Seattle's number time and time and time again. Watch out for Jackson Smith and Jigba to have a big game in this one. But the 49ers, I can't bet against what the 49ers have done to Seattle in this matchup over the past couple of seasons. And that's why I got to go with the 49ers 30-20. Now, they haven't looked that great. The 49ers last week, I thought it was a pretty rough win against Tampa Bay. But I think they find a way to get this done 30-20. Next up, you go to the other huge game this week, the Chiefs and the Bills. And this is a game that's in Buffalo, and then that's a huge factor. If you look at the Chiefs, it's been scare after scare after scare where they had to win the overtime game. They had to block the kick. I think they get the win 24-21. It's a really, really close game, in my opinion, where it comes down to probably the final play. And I know those are the games that usually the Chiefs win, but at some point, this team needs to falter. This team will lose at some point. And I think if you're the Chiefs, you honestly might want to lose at some point, get the loss out of the way. And this is a team that could meet in the playoffs again. But I think just with the way the momentum is going, what the games have looked like recently for the Chiefs, I think Buffalo gets it done 24-21. Going on to the Bengals and the Chargers, must-win game for the Bengals. I think if they lose this one, their season's probably over. This Sunday night football game against the Chargers, and I think they find a way to get it done. I think it's 31-28. I think it's a really close battle, but I think that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase having an outstanding game still. And I know this Chargers team's really good, but I think the Bengals put up points, and I just think they're a little bit too much for this young Chargers team, and they win 31-28. Then going on to Monday Night Football, you have the Texans, who are struggling with injuries, continue to lose, and you have the Cowboys that Dak Prescott's out for the year, and they've been struggling. And that I'm going to have to take Houston in this one. They got to win at some point. They've been dropping a lot of games. The good news for them is the rest of their division is just not there right now. So they've been able to hold on. But if you look at the Cowboys, it's a mess there. You have Micah Parsons going on his podcast, ripping the team. You have Dak Prescott obviously out for the year. You have Jerry Jones talking outlandish things to the media. Zeke Elliott not showing up to practice, having off the field stuff, and then fumbling in games. I can't get behind this Dallas Cowboys team right now, and that's why I have to take the Texans 24-14. I think they get a big win that they need, and well, not even a big win because it's the Dallas Cowboys. And there's a debate that the Cowboys are one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. But that is it for Week 11. I will see you all Week 12.